The name Fishing Syndicate has created a lot of noise around the docks, as well as confusion. So today, I'm speaking with Oliver Salas, founder of Fishing Syndicate, to clear up some of the confusion, talk about the company's origins, mission, and plans for the future. We also will cover business strategies and marketing in today's fishing industry. Enjoy. All right, hello folks. I'm DeepSea Ron, and this morning I'm with Oliver Salas, founder of Fishing Syndicate. And this morning we'll be talking about marketing and branding in today's fishing industry. Good morning, Oliver. How are you doing today?
Good. Thanks for doing this.
Oh, thanks for doing this for me. I appreciate having you. So, first off, where are you from? And where's your family from? What's your background?
Sure. I was actually born and raised in Acapulco.
Okay.
Had the good life on the ocean. Crazy parents decided to migrate, and I had no choice, right? So, I'm not sure you want to call me a dreamer because I was in the 80s. My dad had been here for a while. Through the amnesty, we became legal, and then did my schooling here. High school, Belmont High, Sentinels. At that point, I decided to do a trade school for college, skip university. Being first generation, I was kind of forced into doing that.
Okay, yeah.
And then I've worked in the legal field for 20 plus years now. Fishing itself, it's in my blood. From my great grandfather on my dad's side, who worked in the industry commercially. He fished commercially, and so he supported his family. My grandfather did the same. My father and my uncle, only two brothers in that family, worked in the sports fishing industry. And so my earliest memories, 3 years old, I'm on the water with a line in my hand, fish pulling on the other. So the tug is a drug, right?
Yeah.
I got hooked early on. As I grew older, I enjoyed the sport with my cousins, my uncles. We were at the beach or in the ocean in some shape or form every single weekend. And then when we weren't, we were at lakes or rivers, camping, fishing all the time. Everything involved water sports and involved fishing. High school, obviously, playing sports, basketball, football, baseball. And then I've decided to take an office job, right? Got married young, had a kid. And so I went into the legal field, which I still do. I work with attorneys. I advise attorneys on how to manage their electronic data that they need for the cases that they go to court for. It has nothing to do with personal stuff. It's all corporate law and litigation. And so for the last decade, I've had this business plan, the retirement plan, on I'm gonna get into the fishing industry in some shape or form. And so I looked at the playing field. Where is there a gap? Where can I come in and do something a little different than what everyone else is doing? And we'll get deeper into that here in a few, right? And so 5 years ago, I spoke to the guys that I fish with, my cousins, my brother, about this business plan I had. And some of them were excited about it, some of them wanted to put money in, others were a little concerned. To the risk takers go the rewards, right? And so it was a high risk deal. It's been 3 years now. We're still investing, but I found a gap where I felt that we could be the most effective, bring in some excitement. The industry was kind of stagnant. The companies have been around for a while. I respect them all, have a friendship with them all. I fished pretty much all the rods. And there was a specific need that I had for certain types of blanks. And I went to all of them. At least two of these companies, I actually promoted them. I was part of the promotional staff. And they just, they had their business plan and they had no room for what I wanted, even though I offered to pay. So, lo and behold, 5 years ago, I said I'm gonna execute the plan. And we started developing blanks that would fit what I wanted. 3 years now that people have been fishing those in the public.
Oh, very nice, very nice. Looks like you got a delivery.
Look at what we got here.
Perfect. Ditch these.
Much better than water. Thanks, UT.
Thank you. Got lines.
Those techies.
Yep. All right. So
It's 5 o'clock somewhere, right?
exactly.
Right,
So
so-
your childhood sounded a little like mine. Always fishing near the waters. My first, I think, fish was gonna be it was a halibut, and it was
Nice.
an Ensenada off the those little pebble rock beach
Yeah,
over there.
yeah.
And yeah, that was it. What got me into it. Grandfather as well. Also, that was his love for his passion that got me into it.
A quick note, I actually have family in Ensenada. One of my cousins who invested in the company, um, his mom migrated from Acapulco to Ensenada when she was young,
Okay.
and she settled there. So when we came up here, Ensenada had been one of our stomping grounds, and really good fishing there from shore or going offshore or fishing the islands. And they had a place called Campo Siete,
Okay.
um, right by La Bufadora, the blowhole, and these guys are catching yellowtail off the rocks.
Wow.
So we gotta go down there one of these days.
Oh, yeah.
Get a group together.
Oh, I'm with that, definitely. So you said company's been around for about 5 years or so.
So we filed the corporation 3 years ago. I actually started putting money into development 2 years before that.
Okay.
And while I was developing blanks, because I knew the fleet, I actually went to the captains and the deckhands that I grew up fishing with. A lot of these younger captains, when I was fishing 20 years ago, they were all, pinheads and deckhands. So we developed a friendship. So I took them prototypes, blanks, for them to fish them. Whereas we like to put in the fishing industry, go break them.
Okay.
Right? Put them to the test the right way, bounce fish with them, and put them through hell, and let's see
See
what
they could do.
how they come, how they fare out. So I got great reviews from all of them.
Alright.
And that's when I started then putting the money into, creating the volume. We went from prototyping with them to now creating rods that we're putting in people's hands.
Okay. So on the dock though, a lot of the people that I've hear talking about the company, some of them get it confused. They say it's an apparel company, it's a fishing club. Is there any connection with that in your marketing strategy? How does that work out? How did that come to be confusion?
Without giving away all the secrets, that was exactly what I was hoping for, right? What I wanted to do was to spark that curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
The name screams club all day long. It's interesting that a lot of people don't know what the word syndicate means. Some don't even know how to pronunciate it, right? They pronounce it as syndicate, and so it makes for great conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, most people originally thought, oh, they're a fishing club,
Mm-hmm.
and this better than most. That is the atmosphere that I wanted to create. That is one of our hashtags, right? FS culture. That is the culture of the company. We want people to feel part of it, to belong to it, right? As human beings, we all want to belong to something. And so this is one thing that I wanted to create. I wanted to create a culture, and that's what the fishing syndicate is. So now when you look at the word syndicate, it means a group of people or companies all working towards the benefit of or the promotion of one thing. That thing could be anything you want, right? There's a lot of syndicates out there in different fields. So what I wanted to create was this company that would be all about fishing. So does it include apparel? It does, right? We've seen the designs. There's a lot more coming up. We have one coming out here at the end of February when we do our gathering that no one's aware of. I put out little hints. No one's really caught it because we have a new design that we put out, and no one's really made any mention of it. And that is sort of the idea of the company, is to be subtle, right?
Okay.
You don't even know what's coming, and there's a lot more that's coming right behind that. So new designs. End of February, a new design for Fred Hall. It's just killer. And so we want to create this culture. It's not just rods. And if you see in the name, it doesn't say rods. It is Fishing Syndicate, inshore, offshore. So the business plan calls for a lot more than just making rods. Calls for a lot more than just creating a club atmosphere. But yes, I do want to create that club atmosphere. I do want to create a family environment. I'm a very family-oriented man. And I want to create that for the people that need that,
True.
There's a lot of guys that come to us and say, yeah, you guys make us feel like family on the boats. And that is what I want. I want people to feel that attachment and that approach. And also a lot of education on the fishery itself, right? Don't kill everything that you catch. Leave some for the next generations. I have a 12-year-old who's now fishing on his own. I have a 5-year-old who's right behind him. And I want these guys to be able to, carry on that passion that I was given, when I was 3.
Oh yeah, definitely want to conserve, for the future.
Yep. Yep.
So, talking about your company, you had to come up with the name, branding yourself and everything. Do you feel you had to brand yourself as an individual in order to brand this company? And is there any differences or similarities that you've seen?
I think there is a difference between branding yourself and branding an entity. I'm all about the entity. This isn't about me. I'm just a small piece of the puzzle. You know, I held a reputation which I still hold with the people that knew me, right? The captains, the deckhands. On some boats, I was already a deadhead. Just jump on the boat because all I care about was the excitement of the chase. Once I hook that fish, my excitement is over. I like handing it off to someone else. And so, what is the one thing that captains want to see on the boat is hook in hand. Hook in hand and hand it to the young kids, to the females, to the novices that come on the boat that are having a hard time. And so that's what I was doing. I don't take home any of the fish. I save some for my mom, my dad. I don't really eat fish unless I'm at a sushi bar. We have the gatherings and it's grilled. It's gotta be the same day. That for me, that fish just cannot hit the freezer. Just be on ice for a day or two while I get to it. But once that's done, goes in the freezer. It's just not for me anymore. And so, the idea was to brand the company. That's why we put a lot of time into coming up with a name, right? Something catchy, something that people would like, that would get attracted to. Me personally, I never wanted to be the face of the company. I still have my career that keeps me busy day in, day out. I have clients on the East Coast and the West Coast. So I start my days very early, around 5 a.m. And most days I don't end till 10 or midnight. And so I kind of do this in between, right? I don't have to go to an office. I work remotely, so that helps, carry this. I helped get that company started 7 years ago. So I'm one of the founders there. So this right here, when I started this, you could say that, from a business standpoint, it's not my first rodeo. I've actually started 4 different companies before, 3 of which I was the sole owner and founder. 2 of them flopped, so I cut my losses. One of them did great. I sold it, made some money. That was the first one when I made money, and I took that money and then went and lost it on 2 other ventures, right? But that's the way it goes. Again, to the risk takers go the rewards.
Spend money to make money.
Yeah, you gotta make. It takes money to make money, and being an entrepreneur is sort of in my blood, just like fishing. It's what I grew up with.
Oh, that's very nice. Very comforting, inspiring to hear. For people just
And I'm always willing to share the knowledge. This is one reason why I think we're growing. People come to me, and I'm this. I'm willing to help.
Yeah.
I'll make the time to help others. And I like to invest in other people as well. I like to invest in the ideas, the ventures. It's one way to help others out, and then that typically comes back tenfold.
All right. So, what have you seen has been your best marketing tool? Because, from my understanding, when it comes to a fishing rod, people use what their father used. They're very traditional, and it's very hard to break their ways.
Yes.
So it's like you said, you even had trouble breaking the ways with the companies that you worked with. They didn't want to listen to the new trends or what might work better. So, what have you found is your best marketing tool with, I guess, getting the word out there and changing the minds?
So, there's different moving pieces. I think the first and the most important piece was the fleet, the captains and the deckhands. Getting them to try these rods out, putting those rods in people's hands, and having the deckhands and the captains say, "Try this out," right? That was the first step in marketing. The second step in marketing was the established fishing website, such as 976 Tuna. That's a website that most anglers use. Not so much in private boaters, but really the open party guys, right? Which is 80% of the fishermen. And so I've known Terrence for a while. I approached him. I showed him a couple of rods for him to go try out, and we started marketing with him. We actually did some videos first year with him. He got busy, so we kind of stopped doing the videos, but we've been marketing through that website. So then came Angler Chronicles, right? Sergio made radio possible. So we started using the radio to promote the product, and then he made TV possible. So we've now made different films with him, two company specific, and another three or four where I participated to talk about the product, but they are specific to other entities, such as the Dream Extreme at Lake Elsinore, and others, like that. But we've had two films where we filmed the company's anniversary. You were there for the second one.
Great trip.
We have the third one coming up. We're trying to make something a little different, more exciting, go after some game fish. So we're trying to lock in the boat that's gonna participate in this, right? We always share the height, the spotlight and the cost with the boat. First year was the Toronado, one of our first supporters, in doing this, Spear Point Landing. Second year was the Eldorado with Bird 55, also supporting us and carrying the product. So it's been a combination of things, right? The way I like to see it, and this is how I feel, is we've run into good people along the way that have been willing to help us. We've also have to be, we've had to be good people ourselves, right? It's called a give and take. Every relationship in life, marriage, siblings, business, and just any interpersonal relationship in life, it's all about the give and take. And it's give and then take, not take and then give, right? A lot of people don't understand that. And when you do, when you get to understand that it's a give and take, believe me, when you give first, they'll give you back tenfold. So that's one of the keys that's helped the company get to where it's at so far, and we'll see what the next few years have in store for us.
Right. What about printed, traditional advertising? A lot of people say like big names are like the Bible when it comes to that. Like do you use those options? Do you feel like they're a necessity?
We use some of those options. I did some research, and I asked people, when was the last time you actually picked up a newspaper and read it? Most people don't read a newspaper anymore, right? We all go on, we call it our cell phone. It's actually a computer.
Oh yeah.
It's a computer. We do everything here. Everything from photos to videos to email to social media. You could actually create documents on here. There's programs where you can create a Word document, you convert it into a PDF. So this is a mini computer that we all carry. We don't have to carry a laptop anymore. We don't have to carry a tablet. We just have to carry a smartphone nowadays. The printed media, the printed traditional way of marketing, I think it's lost some of its charm, mostly because we live our lives in 15-minute increments. Or maybe it's 15-second increments. We all get messages through Facebook, right? And I get, besides my emails from work, I get a good 50 notifications on Facebook, an hour.
And you're very responsive. I want to give you that.
I try to be responsive as much as possible, but I have to pick and choose which of those notifications I'm actually gonna give more than 3 seconds of my attention. If someone posts a video, I will watch the first few seconds, and if it's not of interest, I have to move on because time is money, right? And we're all working, we're all busy. And so the printed media that we use are the full color magazines that are sold at the tackle shops, that are on the boats, that you see everywhere that has to do with fishing, right? I'll name both of them. It's Fish Taco Magazine and PCS Magazine, right? We advertise with them. I like Fish Taco because it's a quarterly magazine, so you're not bombarded with it. It's 3 months, you get to see it. It's at the stores, it's on the boats. Pacific Coast Sport Fishing Magazine, it's printed monthly. It's a little more, more often. I don't think people read as much of it. Everyone's got their opinion on that. That's just my personal opinion. Those are the only two magazines that I advertise on, the only printed media. We make full use of Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, the radio with Angler Chronicles, 936 Tuna on the web. Angler Chronicles, promotes us as well on their social media, and then the TV show that he has, in which you get to see the rod every single week, 5 times a week. So, it's kind of hard for me to put a value on anything more that is printed when I know most people
Okay.
are not really reading it. Now they say that it's all age groups, right?
It's true.
It's all age groups. I I want all age groups
Okay.
to buy a product, right? And we have all the age groups. You've seen them. We have the guys that are retired, who are military, vets, to the youngsters. Where the successful people are, where the money is in your, mid-range,
Okay.
mid-age guys.
Sure, yeah.
Those are the guys that are gonna spend the most money. And so, a lot of these gentlemen who are retired now, it's mostly male. There's a few females, of course. They're getting on their phones now. They're on social media.
Yeah.
They're not reading the newspapers either.
Yeah.
And so that's why we keep it to those two full color magazines and no other type of printed advertisement.
Okay. So the digital media, do you see that as, do you see as printing material phasing out, or do you see yourself, if your company does get bigger, does printed material give a company more credibility? And do you feel like that's the reason why older generations look for as credibility, since they don't get the digital media?
So not everyone's gonna agree with my response, but I have my legal background working against, everyone else's response. So in legal, 20 years ago, everything we were doing was printed. Okay, companies were printing paper left and right. Emails would get printed, and about 10 years ago, that just completely changed. We went into strictly digital. Now we do everything on the cloud. We have co-location, so we keep our servers. We don't even have an actual office, and all the work that I do is basically out of my phone. 90% of what I do, I could take care of it here. The other 10% requires me to sit at the office and type documents, agreements. So I see the same thing happening to this industry. Credibility, I think, comes from people's usage, opinions, and being at the trade shows. The trade shows are important to us, and that's why we do PCS in Orange County in February. We do Fred Hall, Long Beach in March. We don't do the other shows because there's a lot of crossover with the people, and a lot of people from San Diego come up to Long Beach because that is the main one. That is the Super Bowl of the fishing and outdoor industry, right? I know there's others throughout the country, and time will get to that. Being the youngest rod company in the industry, 3 years only into it, there's no rush. We'll start looking at that as we continue to grow.
Do you know how many you're competing with right now? What's your number that you consider your competition?
So, loaded question. With all due respect to them, I don't consider them competition.
Okay.
And the reason I don't consider them competition is you could only consider someone competition when you're offering the exact same product.
Okay.
Our product is different. Our product is the latest and greatest in the technology. People talk about it. There's reviews on our Facebook page on how light and how powerful these rods are. So, I actually hold a friendship with all the other guys. I know the owners. I respect what they have done for the industry. As I told them, I am building my platform on their platform, on what they've already done for the industry. I'm just making a newer, better product because they didn't want to change what they developed 20, 30 years ago, right? In fact, the youngest company has probably been around for like 5-6 years, but they broke off from a company that's been around for 40 years. And then the next youngest probably been around for 15 years. When those guys came in, and I'll say it, it's Phoenix, when those guys came in, they came in with something radical to the industry, right? We had glass rods that had been developed, 40, 50 years ago that Seeker continued to build. We had the composite rod by CalStar, one of the guys that started this whole thing, Leon. He was the first guy to combine the graphite with the glass and create a composite rod. And then Phoenix came in and they developed this full graphite rod to fish saltwater in the ocean. Everyone's got an opinion about it. I enjoyed those rods. I enjoyed how light and how sensitive they were. The problem is they had no backbone. They had no power. I like to compare graphite to bone, and speaking of our bodies, right? Um, and then glass is like muscle. So you need a combination of both. So your bone gives you rigidity gives you form, muscle gives you strength. So when you have a full graphite rod, it's just like muscle. I mean, it's just like, let me rephrase that. It's just like bone. There's no joints. It's just one piece that doesn't have a joint to be able to bend. And so when that rod goes under pressure, you feel the pressure in your hand, all the way down to your hand. When you're using a full glass rod, which is all muscle, with no rigidity, no backbone, that rod will also bend all the way down to your handle. And there's no real pulling power. So what Leon did back in the day was to create a rod that had the combination of the muscle towards the tip of the rod with the graphite towards the back end. So now you have backbone with muscle. It's almost like your arm, having that joint in the elbow, so you could do some real lifting, right? You're young. When I was young, I knew more this than now, right? This is a lot easier to do some lifting than it is to do it this way. So this is your full graphite rod. It's stiff. There's no joint, right? There's no real bend. But when you do the snapper, you could actually increase your lifting power at least 2 times. Okay. And so what Phoenix did, they brought in this radicalization of, now we're gonna use a full graphite rod. And it was great when we were fishing straight mono. Mono has give. The industry turned over to using Spectra. Spectra is like rope. It doesn't give, doesn't stretch. And then we went to fluorocarbon, which doesn't stretch either. So now you have a very stiff rod with rope, Spectra, and a small top shot, and there's no give on anything. So what started happening to everyone is you started pulling hooks on fish, you started snapping rods because you're trying to load that rod, and the rod has no joint. So now you're like doing this number to that rod, pop. And that's how rods started breaking. So the other option was to go back to the 2 previous companies, right? And then Randy broke off from Seeker, started United Composite. I promoted his product for a while. Each of these companies make a great product. They're just not the product that I wanted to fish.
You make a different product.
We make a completely different product that has, literally there's no comparison. When you compare them both, our rods are lighter and they are stronger, and that's been what we try to show people. We try to show people that, and the people that buy one rod, you're one of them. Mm-hmm. Buy one rod, your grandpa, I want another one. Yeah. And then people are coming in just buying a whole set of rods because they see the difference. They see how much more the rod helps you land the fish, puts pressure on the fish and not on your back.
All right. So just to wrap it up here, I just want to ask, so what would you be your best advice for someone either starting a brand, starting a company, or trying to brand themselves, as far as where should they invest their money, and should they invest it in one area of concentration or try to spread it out as best as possible and do what you can in the beginning?
First thing you gotta keep in mind is only be willing to invest as much as you're willing to lose.
Okay.
Right. That's the first piece of advice. Everyone's gonna make a decision on what they're willing to lose. Right. If you're gonna invest in a new idea, do your market research. Talk to your friends. Talk to their friends. Talk to people. Do research online. What are people doing? What are people liking? What are they looking for? And every industry is already saturated. But all you gotta do is come up with a niche. And that's it right there. Come up with a niche. If you try to compete with an established brand, the chances are you're gonna fail. Especially if they are strong. So don't pick a fight with the other guys unless you got the deep pockets to go through that fight. I made sure that I didn't pick a fight with anybody. Okay. I made sure that I showed them respect, and I spoke to each of those owners. We talk at every trade show. Every now and then they call, and I call, and I made it clear. Look, I'm not trying to take your client base. I'm trying to develop my own client base based on what I'm developing, which is completely different than your stuff. Are you gonna lose clients to me? Of course, because I was your client at one point, and you didn't want to change what you were doing. So I decided to go do my own thing, and that's how we've been able to grow. And you know, once you have a good support mechanism that starts to promote your product, the word of mouth is priceless. That is actually the best marketing that you don't have to pay for. You just have to make sure that you show your gratitude and you take care of people.
Oh, excellent, excellent. I really thank you and appreciate you spending time with me, spending your knowledge, your wisdom. Yeah, just really thank you very much. I can't
Thank
wait
you.
to share the reel with you soon again.
Absolutely.
Guys, thank you for listening, paying attention. This has been Off the Docks with Real Boy. I'll see you next time. Thank you.